Today we are going to be playing with some ComposiMold. This is some stuff that I ran across not too long ago at NAMTA's Art Materials World Trade Show here in Houston. I met Stan and the ComposiMold guys and was just fascinated by their product. So he sent some home with me to play with, and I'm going to show you the results of playing with that, and then we're gonna, play with some in real time here so you can see how it works. It's pretty cool stuff. I was a little skeptical at first because, I just am. But it really worked. I made several things. Well, I did these about a week ago. I've been trying to make this video for a week and it just hasn't panned out. But okay, here's what I made. These are the molds, and they're like silicone jelly molds or something, like your kind of like your jelly plate. Yeah, that's what they're like. The texture is a little bit different from your jelly plate, not the texture but the squishiness. The word escapes me. You know what I'm saying. But same kind of basic gelatin-ish substance. ComposiMold comes in different formulas. They have, I'll put a link to the website so you can check them out. They have some that are specifically for different kinds of castings, like polymer clay. The one for polymer clay is a little bit more firm. And I did use polymer clay in this one. This is the original formula, but it's not ideal. If you're going to do a lot of polymer clay castings, you'll want to get the polymer clay formula because it's firmer and will hold up better, and I'll show you why that's important. This one, the original one, was perfect for resin castings, and I'm talking just a 2-part resin, like ice resin or one of those. So it worked great. I used a variety of different things to cast, some broken jewelry, a charm. This used to be an earring. It was half of a very statement-making earring. Okay, so I made molds out of these things, and then I casted them with both resin and polymer clay. This is one of the polymer clay castings, and this is a resin casting. And as you can see, the polymer clay didn't pick up quite as much detail as the resin because this is really not ideal for polymer clay. You need the stiffer formula. But oh my gosh, the resin casting, I was totally impressed with how much detail it picked up. This is the original, and this is the resin casting. Y'all look. The detail that it picked up is just amazing. Cool, right? So yeah, that impressed me. This is a leaf that I made, and then this is the resin casting, and this is the clay. This was just a brass little sun charm deal. And I had some issues with this. This was not difficult. I mean, this was not easy to cast. It was easy to mold, but not so much to cast because of these little spindly legs here. Yeah, I didn't quite get them all molded or casted in the resin. That didn't work out as well as I had hoped. I did in the clay, but do you see the difference? You see the difference in size? And the reason for that is just because I squished the clay down into the mold so that I could make sure and get all those little spindly sun rays, and it sort of distorted the shape a little bit. I mean, not bad. If you didn't know what the original looked like, you would think that this was normal, right? But that is one of the reasons why, if you're going to do a polymer clay casting, you should use the formula specifically made for that. Same thing with this one. This is a little plastic earring. This is the resin mold of the earring. Great detail. And you can see it right up next to the earring. Really, really good. And then polymer clay one because, you know, I was squishing him down in there. So he looks like he's put on a little weight before the diet after. But still, a darn fine casting, okay? So that is what I did. Those were my preliminary trials just to make sure it actually worked. It did. So now let's do a couple live. Okay, what you're going to need is a container of ComposiMold. It comes in different sizes. This is the 20 ounce. Okay. It says net 20 ounces and then in parentheses 16 fluid ounces. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's the weight, 20 ounces, and then the 16 fluid ounces is the measurement of the contents. I don't know. It's almost like math and I don't do that. So this size is what I'm using. And you can see I've already used some of it and not as much as I thought. Those 4 molds, you know, it only used that much of it. So yeah, great. And okay, the thing about this is, here's the cool thing about this. When I get tired of making leaves and, you know, I'm like over it and I'm done with it, I plop that back in there, I remelt it, and then I turn it into something else. Cool, right? Because I know if some of us that have been around the crafting world for a while, we've made molds. We've done this. I made polymer clay molds like a crazy woman back in the 90s. And boy, we took time too, because we made our molds. We painted them and decorated them and made them look cool, and then molded other pieces of clay and stuff in them. But you know, they're permanent. Like I've got those polymer clay molds forever, and I'm so over those designs. I'll probably never use them again, but I'm kind of stuck with them. What do? I spent time to make them and decorate them, and you know, now what? That's such a non-issue with this, because you just toss it back in here and you remelt it. And in fact, let's do that. Since the sun gave me problems, let's remelt it. And I believe you can do this like 30 or more times. And I asked Stan, you know, what is it, you know, why 30 or 35 or whatever it is? What happens that makes it not be able to be used again? And he said, nothing, really. It's just kind of a ballpark number, because usually about after 30 reusings of the material, it starts to get a little funkified, because it picks up, you know, dust and particles and a cat hair and, you know, stuff like that. It just gets funky and icky. That's the only thing about it. It doesn't like turn on you, which, you know, makes it very economical. You get a lot of bang for your buck. These are not cheap. And I was really surprised at how expensive they are. They are not cheap. But when you consider the convenience and how easy it is to reuse and how stable the product is, it's worth it. Because I thought, you know, my first thought was, oh, well, I can make a homemade jelly plate, you know, if I just put more gelatin in it to make it firmer. I could make this on my own, right? Well, those of us who have made our own jelly plates, we know that they are not exactly stable. Things happen and we end up having to remelt them, and you know, it just periodically it happens. It's a fine alternative to save money, but for making a crystal clear mold to use for highly detailed castings, this is the way to go. Okay, when you open your container, it comes with a little instruction sheet which you pull out, and it will tell you, you know, it gives you your basic how to melt it and all of that, and gives you tips and best practices and you know, how to clean your mold and do all the stuff. And it would probably be really helpful. Oh, and on the back is the different formulas that they have, and the different casting materials that you can use in them. So yeah, this is probably really helpful. If I had read it, I'm sure I would be fascinated by it. But you know me, I skimmed it and then I just winged it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stick this in the microwave. And okay, let's see what the instructions actually say about that. For a 10-ounce size, you microwave for a minute. at 20-second intervals for, this is the 20-ounce size, yeah. 2 to 3 minutes, gently stir every 30 seconds. Okay, I believe what I did was I put it in for a minute and then I stirred, and then a minute more and I stirred. I wasn't quite sure if this container is heat proof. This is what I used and it did just fine. It didn't melt the plastic container, so that's what I'm going to use again. And I'm going to put it in for a minute and then we will stir it and go from there. Okay, handle it carefully. Oh, look at the little sun. Its little face is just floating around in there. Yeah, that makes me laugh. Okay. Stick it in for another minute. I don't think it'll take quite that long. And these are the items that I'm going to mold today, or I'm going to try to. And some of these are going to be a little bit challenging, but let's see what happens. The containers that you need to do your molds, you can use anything, but they do need to have a flat bottom. I've got these little ramekin dishes. They worked well. That's what I used last time. So I'm going to go with that. And then, okay. I've got this bigger one because this bust thing wouldn't fit right in any of my deals. So I rigged this. I don't know if that's going to work, but we're going to find out. Just stir my stuff, which looks to be completely melted at this point. And last time I was surprised at how long it stayed melted, because, you know, I thought, ooh, I'm going to have to use it really fast because it's going to start setting up. Nah, not so much. I am a little concerned about pouring it over this because this is a really cheap plastic and I'm afraid it might melt it. So I'm probably going to do that one last after this cools a little bit. But here's what you need to do. ComposiMold sells a release that you can use when you're doing your casting so that your resin or your clay doesn't stick in there or whatever. It's vegetable oil, and they don't even try to hide that fact. It just says right there on the label, vegetable oil. So if you're concerned about stickage, you know, you can just spray some Pam or whatever. I actually have been using Daddy Van's because it's natural and it's what I have, and you know, oil is kind of sticky and icky. And last time I put some in the containers before I did the molding, which I really don't think was all that necessary because they came out without a problem. Plus you don't want the bottom to be too slippery because you need to stick your moldy item on there. Here's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's do this one. Flat backed items are easiest to do. This back part right here, you're not really concerned about that. That's the back of your item. When you cast it, it's not going to show, it's not going to matter. What you want to make sure is that the ComposiMold goes all the way around without seeping under too much. If it seeps under, you're going to have a problem casting. And when we get through, I'll show you what I mean. It'll make more sense. But these do best if they are secure and don't move around, so you don't want any ComposiMold getting up underneath there. And I've just been using this reusable, this is Oohoo tack. It's, you know, sticky tack. It's that stuff that you can put stuff on walls with and it doesn't mess up your walls or whatever. So I just use a little bit of sticky tack and put it on the back here. And I don't want to put too much because if I have too much two-dimensional up here, then it's going to raise up my key and then the ComposiMold will get underneath, and I don't want that. So make it either really thin or push it all the way out to the edges so that it doesn't get up in there. And then, that was not the one I wanted, this one. Lay it down. And I've got wax on the bottom of this so it doesn't stick completely, you know, but it does grab hold enough to where this won't move when I pour the stuff over. Okay, same thing with this one. And stick it in there that way. Now if you want, you know, you can take some vegetable oil, or I'm going to use some of this Daddy Vans, and put it over your little dewar here to help it not, well, it's not going to really stick to the ComposiMold, but just to make it release easier. These are old keys. Maybe I should have cleaned them first. Perhaps. Well, you know, hindsight and all. Alright. Got them? Yes. Now, see, my stuff is not setting up, which surprises me. But it is warm. Handle with care. And then you just want to cover. It doesn't have to be super thick, just enough so that you can handle them. Let's see what the instructions say. Pour your mold. Anchor your object. They recommend clay or hot glue. You know, we'll use this. Be careful about it melting hot glue if you use hot glue. Okay. Apply a thin layer of mold release to the master. These keys are our masters, and to the container. Okay, we had some Daddy Vans on there. Pour it. Oh, cover by at least 1/2 inch. Okay, that's probably good right there. Now I'm going to look at it really good. It's got tons of tiny little bubbles in it, but there's no big honking bubbles sitting right on top of my keys or right on the edges, so this is good. And what I did last time, and I'm going to do that again, I stuck this in the freezer, and then for this thickness, like 10 or 15 minutes, it was done. Like it was ready to go. So I'm going to do that now. All right, now let's do this one. It's just fascinating. Pretty sure I'm going to need to cover it because I don't know how all these little stones are going to do. So I'm just dipping into my Daddy Vans. Y'all, these were earrings from the 80s. I actually wore these in my ear. It had a big green stone right here that clipped to your ear, and then it had a dangly down here. These earrings entered a room before I did. Yeah, I thought it was cool, whatever. And make sure whatever you use to secure your item doesn't squish out into the open areas, because that will affect the way your mold, what your castings look like. Alrighty. I'm just sitting here thinking, it is going to be a miracle if I can manage to pry this thing out of this stuff. It just does not make sense to me. Like, why doesn't it stick into all the nooks and crannies? Well, I know why. It's because there's magic in there, but still. Okay, let me get a good look at it. I don't see any bubbles right up against my design. There's a few bubbles floating around inside the stuff, but nothing laying on my earring. So I think that's good. Okay, my little molds have all set up. It took about 15 minutes maybe in the freezer, and then they were fine. So let's pull them out. Let's see, these two I did on camera. I had to delete a whole bunch of footage because I had over an hour of footage. I didn't realize I got carried away. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got a couple of things that I did not mold that I wanted to. I'll do those on another video at another time. And I will make the castings of these things also in another video, just so this doesn't go on forever. So let's unmold these. What I did last time, which worked, I took this is a frosting spreader, and just kind of went around the edge here and lifted it up, and it came right out. See, all there is to it. If you're using some kind of a plastic container that bends, then you wouldn't even need this. You could, you know, bend it and get in there and pull it out. So, pull my keys out. Pull off any of the sticky tack that happened to get stuck to it. And there we have it. And you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, right here. See how, this is what I was talking about, how the ComposiMold can get underneath the item, and we're there, underneath the item and cause some problems when you're casting. That's what I was talking about. And what I did last time, I took some little fine scissors or a X-Acto knife, and just kind of cut that away. And it doesn't really have to be perfect because that's the back of your item, you know. Just kind of follow along there where you see the design and just snip away that little part, and then it's fine. That way whatever you cast can get all the way up in there. But these actually did really great. Oh, do not duplicate. Oh, how funny. It even picked up the words off that key. It's just barely engraved, do not duplicate. And it picked it up. Wow. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna clean this mold up, get those little lips off of there and, you know, anything else that's bugging me. And then peel the sticky tack. Usually it'll just come right off of these and you can reuse it. So there's that one. Now this one, yeah, this was the one I was kind of nervous about. Let's loosen it up and start pulling it out. Okay. There's a lot of seepage underneath it, but I think that it picked up all the detail. I know it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell until you actually mold it or cast it. I think that worked. Wow. See? Interesting. Okay. Now these two I did after I quit filming. Actually, I had a little bit of a fiasco. They were just little pendants. And this one had a lot, you see a lot of seepage underneath. Even though I put quite a bit of the sticky tack, it still got around there. So, and usually the sticky tack will pull right off. If it doesn't, you can kind of help it. There we go. I haven't had a problem with it sticking too bad. See, that's got a little lip around it, which is not a huge issue. I'm just going to trim off that excess. And then it did pick up the detail. I don't know if you can tell. Can't tell from that side. But it did pick up all the little engravings that were on the original. And this one. Same thing, a little seepage around the edges, but Nothing major. Sticky tack will usually pull right out. Sometimes you have to help it a little bit. But I haven't had a problem with it, you know, permanently sticking. It's supposed to stick. I mean, it's made to stick. It's supposed to stick to stuff, but it does unstick. And that one did well too, picking up all the little engraved details from the heart. So there we go. Okay, that is how you make a mold with ComposiMold. Tune in another time. I don't know exactly when. I'm going to start working on it. I'll have another video showing how I do some castings, probably some resin castings out of these things. So that is it. Y'all make sure you go check out the ComposiMold website. Oh, and their YouTube channel. I'm going to put a link to their YouTube channel because I'm really excited. They have an active YouTube channel. Lots of videos with, you know, ideas, instructions. I mean, I think any ComposiMold situation you could imagine, they've probably made a video for it. I was very pleasantly surprised and impressed with their YouTube channel. So go give them some love on their YouTube channel. And on their website, pick you up some ComposiMold to play with, because I'm going to be playing with this some more, and you're going to want to play along. You know you are. And tell Stan I said hey. And for now, that is all I have, y'all. The end.
Are you filming?
Yes.
You didn't tell me you were filming.
I'm filming.
What if I would have done something embarrassing?
Oh, like this is not? Oh no. Piece of ice just fell right on top of my mold. I can't. Okay, you know what? That's all right. It's not touching my key. So, I think it'll be okay. Do what I say, not what I do. We've established that, right?